Firstly, I've got to apologise for once again talking about American politics. I'm sick to the back of my teeth of them. I'm sure a lot of you are. You can't be that sick of them since you're watching the video, but here we are. Now, I wanted to talk about this because I am quite surprised it's still relevant. Also, I did make a video about this when it happened. You know what I'm referring to because you've read the title. And I thought, oh, well, I've missed the boat here because I didn't put it up. I wasn't really happy with what I said. And then, lo and behold, people are still talking about it on Facebook. I visited my friend last night, and because I was waiting for him to finish something, I was on Facebook, and something was said about Musk's, so I would say, unfortunate gesticulation, and I said, people are going to be scared to wave at this rate, or some such. It didn't take long before people came back at me for suggesting that it was not what the, shall we say, Musk's detractors say it is, which is, shall we say, the anti-Semitic high five. I'm going to think of loads of names so I don't have to say the name that will get this taken down. Oh yes, oh yes. And I haven't thought of them beforehand. This is all ad-lib. You're welcome. Now, I need to clear this up immediately about why I'm doing this video. It is not out of love of Elon Musk, for I have none. I don't like the man. I haven't looked into him a little, much. I ironically and coincidentally, I found out about him the same way I found out about, or not found out about, but explored Trump's personality, which I did in the last video, which didn't go down well, but hey ho, I'm only a small channel. So, Musk came onto Rogan, I didn't know him from Adam, and he talked for a few hours, and I think the only thing I took away from that is I thought it was funny that Rogan got him drunk. And they were all high as kites at the end and everybody's pal. And Rogan always does a good interview. Musk didn't strike me as particularly abhorrent then. Then I have some friends and they perhaps spend more time looking at news than I, and they hate him. And I says, what is it about Musk that you don't like? And I forget their exact words. One bloke though is a computer technician, and he said, well, I gave him the benefit of the doubt when it was electric cars and rockets because I know nothing about those subjects. But then he started talking about computers, of which he can be classed as a professional, if not an expert, probably an expert. And he said, and he was talking shit, so I can only assume he was talking shit about rockets and electric cars as well. This went on. The news surrounding Trump obviously is not flattering, and I can only say where there was smoke there was fire, and that Trump's virtues are outweighed by his negative qualities. So this is not a defence of Elon Musk. Did I say Trump there? I meant Musk. You'd probably know that. If I say another name, I meant Musk. I'm trying out a new angle, by the way, because when I have the camera over this way, I tend to keep looking at the screen or looking down or something, so this at least gives me a little bit of line of sight. I'm not very good at just looking at people when I'm talking to them. It's been noted, but bear with me, please. Now, back to our Elon. No, I have no interest in defending the man, but I have to say I strongly doubt that he performed, as we called it, the old anti-Semitic high five at that speech. It was a post-inauguration speech, not an actual inauguration speech. And I don't think it's because he's some saint or martyr. I just think, despite some character flaws, the man is not an idiot. And performing that kind of hand sign at that kind of event would be political suicide. I did have a theory for a bit that he might have sort of done it, not done it, like something that looked like it, but thinking, oh yeah, they'll be talking about this for months, and I'll get a bit of publicity, and a lot of people are going to overreact. Now I realise it's difficult to overreact to that those kind of sympathies, but I don't think at that time at least he was trying to give some signal to the far right. I do, since I don't think he was playing 5D chess either, to be honest. I've had to think about it. It was just, it was the end of his speech and he made a hand signal, and there were a few other people who have made hand signals that might be misconstrued in the past. Now, why is it important to me to say this? Because quite frankly, Musk could like fall in front of a bus for all I care, and I'm very dubious about a lot of the things he's done since his friend Trump's come into power. He's basically bought himself the ear of the commander in chief of America. That is very dangerous. Time will tell what he does with it. I believe innocent until proven guilty, but the evidence is stacking up, we'll say. I don't believe, or I struggle to believe, that this Dodge thing, or the DODG, Dodge, whatever, however they're preferring it, I've only seen it written down so far. I don't believe that's out of altruism. Yes, he probably is trying to fiddle his taxes. All the while I have to acknowledge that as somebody who has a little bit of knowledge about how governments work, they are incredibly inefficient, so efficiencies can be made. But I do believe Musk probably is doing them out of personal interest, even if it is the ego stroke of saying he's sorted out America, and possibly the selfish motive of lowering his tax return, because of course he needs the money, doesn't he? I say this because when people accuse these people such as Musk and Trump of things, when we need to be articulate, we need to be precise, we need to be very sure of what we are sure of, very open about what we were sure of, very open about what we merely suspect, and we can't just go apeshit every time we see something that looks like a minor. Yeah, a lot of people say, well, that's not minor. Well, no, seriously, the guy waved his hand and everybody says he's in, beep. That's an overreaction. That is an overreaction. I'm sorry, yes, I am not trying to diminish anything that happened in the 1930s or 40s, but you've got to pick your battles. You've got to make sure they're pinned before you say they did this. To a lesser extent, this happened to Trump with his them finding documents and stuff like that in his house. Yes, he shouldn't have done it. Yes, he should have been punished by it. But they tried too hard, and it made them look desperate. That's the thing we're trying to avoid. We're not trying to look like people who are doing things out of hate, because hate is in a surplus at the minute, and it must be out of necessity, not hate. And it does look a lot of the time that even if people are doing something that they firmly believe is right, they are doing it because they dislike the person they are doing it to, and they are taking glee in it, and that is wrong. Now, if you disagree with me about this, that's perfectly fine. I hate to sound like Jordan Peterson, but be concise in your speech. Give your reasoning. As I said, I went on Facebook and somebody literally said, "We found the Nazi," and I'm like, "What's that done? You literally you haven't said, look, it looks just like it. You know, he's South African. He was born, I believe, I haven't looked too far into it, but he was born when apartheid was a thing in South Africa. He probably was brought up with a lot of racism surrounding him towards black folk, Africans, and which can be construed as African Americans. See that? That makes sense. I would nod my head. But no, you've got to agree with me or you're a Nazi. That don't make it do. That doesn't do anything. So list your reasons. That's what you've got to do. And yes, I know I've just argued against me what I've said, but I still think it stands. Yeah, for all I know, the bloke is a racist bastard. I still don't think it was a one of them. I don't even know if I can say it without getting this pulled from by YouTube for saying the wrong word. I don't know. I'll have to look that up later. But it makes it sound unreasonable. If you don't have reasons behind it, if you are desperate for it does sound unreasonable when you're desperate for a man to be a racist. You want people not to be racist. It's odd to me that people are looking with eager vigor for the flaws in a man because they don't like him. It's it's like doing the right thing for the wrong reason, again, as I've said. Or perhaps the wrong thing for the wrong reason in some cases. I don't know. It smacks, and I'm not accusing anybody, it smacks somewhat of spite. We've lost the election, so we're just going to be arseholes for the next 4 years. I'm not saying that's what people are. Not all of them, certainly. I can understand that I was disappointed when Trump got in. If I'd been over there, I'm no Kamala Harris fan. I don't have that much time for her, but I got more time for her than Trump. You know, it doesn't mean that I cried into my pillow when Trump got in. I'm just like, I mean, it was. Don't get us wrong. It was close. It was close. I didn't think you were voting in the Archangel Gabriel if you know, Mother Teresa, if you got Harris in. I just, you know, best of a bad bunch. But there are probably some sore losers out there, and the leap on things like Musk making poorly, well, hand gestures, we'll say. And here we are, and as I thought, the news is, or social media, I can't go 3 inches on Facebook without seeing something calling Trump a bastard. It's far too much stuff to check. I don't know what's true and what's not true. I don't have the time or frankly the inclination to look further into it. And this is what happens when you're accusing. It's like the boy that cried wolf. If you keep saying he's a bastard, he's a bastard, he's a bastard. On my last video, somebody put it perfectly well when I was talking about Trump. He says, yeah, you know what, mate, it's been 8 years, we get it. Yes, we get it. You don't like him. Wait until you got something concrete and then say it. Wait till you can write something definite, something you can back up. For the example, when just the other week, we'll go back to Trump now, when Trump said President Zelensky was a dictator. I reserved judgment until I actually saw the press conference and the words came out of his mouth, and it was ridiculous. They didn't have an election because there was a war on, exactly like Britain didn't have an election when there was a war on. So by Trump's definition, Churchill was a dictator. And I know there's a lot of people who don't like Churchill, but he's not a dictator. I'm sure a quick Google search will find many countries that did exactly the same. But I can say that comfortably because I sat there and watched the words come out the bloody idiot's mouth. That's what you've got to wait for, not something that they can just turn around and say, no, you're just being ridiculous. And most cars successfully turned around and said, you're being ridiculous. And the wedge between the left and the right has had another thump of the mallet. We need to start being very sure and very definitive about what we say about all of our politicians. Obviously, Trump and Musk, I don't think Musk qualifies as a top politician, but you know he's in that arena now. We need you separate the wheat from the chaff when we talk about these folk. Don't just say, okay, completely unsubstantiated, but it sounds like something he's done. Stick it in there. Don't worry, we'll prove it. We've got about 25% of the facts. I don't care. You know, none of that. Wait. Strike while the moment is right. Don't be saying that he's making hand gestures that no sane person, I'm not saying he's sane by the way, that no sane person would do in public, never mind at a public speech just after an inauguration. It's not helpful. You might notice that he's still hanging around in office, tearing the government to bits. It didn't help that now, did it? It just made you look unreasonable, so the next thing you said sounded unreasonable as well. I'm going to give two examples before I sign out. I read a book, it was a fiction, bordering sci-fi book, about a made-up Roman conquest of Britain at about 50 BC. I believe this didn't actually happen. Britain wasn't invaded by the Romans till after Julius Caesar's time, but somebody decided to write this in. And Caesar was writing a memoir of the invasion, and he had a lot of unbelievable lies in it. And somebody, like as he progressed west through Europe, he was saying, and there are strange animals, there's a deer with 3 legs that's got to prop itself up against trees all the time. And somebody says, Julius, mate, why are you putting stuff like that in your memoirs? He goes, because when it comes to the stuff that I have done that I don't want them to believe, they'll just think it's a lie. So when it gets back, the misinformation will become the expected norm, and therefore the information that could damage me will not be apparent. So of course Haig was doing it deliberately, but we've got to be careful we're not doing it accidentally. And another example, I know a bloke who I thoroughly dislike. I've known him since school. I haven't seen him for well over a decade now, because if I did see him, I'd probably have to jump behind a bush because I really just can't stand the fella. And it's not because he's malicious or angry or nasty or anything like that, but because he has certain, again, negative qualities that outweigh his virtues. His negative qualities are he's lazy, and he will actively avoid work, even though he's perfectly capable of work. And he went through a bad divorce, and I don't want to go into details because obviously it's very personal, but he was accused of transgressions against his sister-in-law, we'll say. I won't name them. And I was informed by a mutual friend who has a bit more time for him, and my friend said, now, Paul, I know you don't like him. And I went, no, you don't have to defend him. I says, I know I don't like the lad, but I know he didn't do that. I know he's not vindictive. I know he's not nasty. So I'd call him names the whole day long if he didn't do something. Like there was a time he literally just did his utmost to get fired from a job that he was required to go to from the benefits office, just so he wouldn't have to do it. I know he did that because he told us about it himself, so I'll shout that from the rooftops, but I'm not going to go around and say he did that to his sister-in-law just to be nasty about him, just because I don't like him. It's got to be the same with Musk. We don't like him, but we've got to wait till we know he's done something before we say it. We can't just jump on everything we hear. I can't think of anything else to say about that. Thanks for your patience. Have a good week. I'm going to post this on Monday. It's currently Saturday.